So, a couple things. One is that most people, before they get to the idea of a pattern, they report having a problem. And that's where there's a fundamental shift, that the opportunity to shift into understanding these are patterns. There's a little background on me, because that'll help. I wrote a book called Weight Release, A Liberating Journey, and it has to do with my own ups and downs, over 100-pound swing in my adult life, my low weights and my high weight. And there was this constant battle with patterns around eating and around food. And for me, they were problems. And in that context, I was resisting owning what was being expressed in my behavior. So the patterns aren't just patterns of behavior, they're patterns of thinking. There's emotional patterning, which is like scripts, where we have a particular story, if you will, that we need people to play roles so we can continue to tell it. And we fall into these patterns in very cyclical ways. It's very easy to get hooked into a pattern and then we're off. And so the idea of interrupting the pattern and having tools, but the primary tool, and that's what I want to get to, is it starts with a sense of vision, a sense of what it is that we're here for. And that is something that we both discover and are discovered by. It's interesting, I noticed the book Frequency, and Michael and I are speaking about this, and I actually posted about this morning on Facebook as well. There's this almost a sense, there's this sense of something that's uniquely ours. And the truth is, it's been around since our birth, maybe even before then, where there's something in particular that is almost like a destiny that's ours. And it's hovered around us, and there's all these little hints to it. But we haven't been on board with it. We've been on board with the patterning. We've learned adaptive patterning, ways to survive, ways to cope, ways to be liked. And that's what we identify. That's how we define ourselves. You know, who I am, what I do. But there's this thread, this kind of core thread. This is the spiritual principle, kind of a soul's longing, something for us, that when we can tap into it, and we can actually begin to focus our lives, so that's what it's all about. I call it the imperative. And it's a sense of vision, something that's drawing us towards it. We don't have to know what it is precisely. We just have hints and clues. That becomes a way that we interrupt the patterns. It's for the sake of that we develop practices that are healthy and helpful. It's for the sake of that we develop and define standards, what we will and won't do. It redefines our life to have a sense of what we're called towards. What is it that I have to do and be? And once I have a sense of that, there's an imperative. It's an imperative for me to step into that thing that I need to become in some very real way, right? That changes the game. Then there's a level of authenticity, there's a level of acceptance. It changes why we do what we do. And patterns become much easier to interrupt and shift because we have something we're going for that's bigger.